World War I, 30 countries involved, over 20 million casualties, and a war that shattered entire empires. What caused such a devastating conflict, and how did it change the world forever? Let's dive into this global chaos in just 12 minutes. Welcome to Civilizations at War, the place where history's most epic battles come alive. Today, we'll be exploring the Great War, a conflict that transformed the world in ways we're still feeling today. From the trenches of France to the battlefields of Africa, World War I was a fight for survival, power, and pride. Understanding it is key to understanding the modern world. To understand how this war started, we need to go back decades before the first shots were fired. The seeds of World War I were sown in a Europe that was on edge. Nationalism was on the rise. Countries were fiercely proud and territorial, believing their cultures and borders were superior. This created tension, especially in places like the Balkans, where Slavic nationalists wanted independence from Austria-Hungary. Can you imagine the fervor of people fighting for their identity, their home? But nationalism wasn't the only factor. Imperialism was at play too. Major powers like Britain, France, and Germany scrambled for control of colonies across Africa and Asia. This competition for resources only stoked animosity, creating a powder keg of distrust. And the most dangerous element? Alliances. By 1914, Europe was a network of secret pacts. If one nation went to war, its allies would follow. Austria-Hungary had Germany at its back, while Russia stood by Serbia. France had an agreement with Russia, and Britain pledged to defend Belgium and France. It was a delicate web of promises. And when Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary was assassinated in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, the whole web unraveled, and Europe plunged into war. The war kicked off quickly, but it didn't go as anyone expected. Instead of quick victories, it turned into a brutal, stagnant conflict. On the Western Front, the fighting became a deadly stalemate. Trenches stretched for hundreds of miles across Belgium and France. Soldiers lived in mud, lice, and constant fear. It was an unimaginable hell where death could strike at any moment, and life felt like an eternity. The conditions were horrific. They faced new weapons, machine guns, poison gas, and tanks that made the war even more terrifying and deadly. Just picture it. Machine guns mowing down entire battalions, poison gas turning the air into a deadly weapon, and tanks crawling through the mud like beasts of war. The Battle of the Somme is a prime example. In one day, over 60,000 British soldiers were killed or wounded. The battle dragged on for months, and at the end, over 1 million men would be lost for just a few miles of land. The human cost was staggering. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, the war was more mobile, but no less deadly. Russia, despite its massive size, was woefully unprepared. Defeats at Tannenberg and Masurian Lakes exposed the weaknesses in the Russian army, which eventually contributed to the Russian Revolution in 1917. Russia was in turmoil, and the world would never be the same after that moment. But the war wasn't confined to Europe. Colonial troops from Africa, India, and the Caribbean fought on behalf of European powers in distant regions. In Africa, for example, German colonies were attacked by Allied forces, and in the Middle East, the Ottoman Empire sided with the Central Powers, dragging the region into the conflict. This truly was a world war. Technology also took a massive leap forward during this time. Tanks were first used in battle in 1916, though they were slow and unreliable at first. Imagine those first tanks creeping across the battlefield, clumsy but revolutionary. Aircraft, once used only for reconnaissance, were now being used for bombing missions. The skies themselves became battlegrounds. Modern warfare was being born before everyone's eyes. By 1917, the war had reached a breaking point. The introduction of new players and strategies would shift the tide. In 1917, the United States entered the war. Initially, America tried to remain neutral, but the German policy of unrestricted submarine warfare, which targeted civilian ships, including the Lusitania, a British passenger liner, sparked outrage. Can you imagine the fury when innocent civilians were caught in the crossfire? The Zimmermann telegram, a secret German proposal to Mexico to join the war against the U.S., further pushed America to declare war in April 1917. By 1918, American troops were arriving in droves, providing the manpower and resources the Allies desperately needed. This wasn't just about soldiers. It was about hope. The United States brought a fresh wave of energy into the exhausted ranks of the Allies. Simultaneously, the Russian Revolution took place, leading to the collapse of the Russian Empire and the rise of the Soviet Union. This removed Russia from the war, allowing Germany to shift its focus to the Western Front. The global implications of these events were enormous. By late 1918, the Central Powers were on the brink. Exhausted by years of trench warfare and facing economic collapse, Germany sought an armistice. On November 11, 1918, the guns fell silent, but the war wasn't over yet. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, was meant to secure lasting peace, but it didn't. The treaty imposed harsh penalties on Germany, including massive reparations, territorial losses, and military restrictions. It left Germany humiliated and resentful. Do you think such a treaty could have prevented the next war? Or did it sow the seeds for something even worse? This treaty, while ending World War I, set the stage for World War II. The economic hardship caused by the treaty fueled the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party, leading to even greater destruction just 2 decades later. World War I was a war like no other. It was a conflict that didn't just destroy lives. It destroyed empires and reshaped the global order. The world was never the same after 1918. The legacy of this war still shapes our modern world, politically, socially, and economically. The boundaries drawn in the aftermath, the empires that fell, and the technology that emerged all influenced the direction of the 20th century. The echoes of that war still resonate in today's global conflicts, in the way nations interact, and in the very way we understand power and conflict. What did you find most shocking about World War I? How do you think the world would have been different without this global conflict? Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you want to explore more about the devastating battles and strategies of World War I, check out our next video on Trench Warfare, Life in the Mud and Blood. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's keep history alive.